They didn't see a homeowner when they looked at him. They saw a problem they thought they could manage. A lone black man at a private pool in a gated neighborhood, relaxed, confident, unbothered. To them, that confidence felt like a challenge. And challenges were something they believed they had authority to shut down. What they didn't know was that every assumption they made in those first few seconds was about to work against them. The afternoon sun sat high, reflecting off the water in clean blue waves. He moved through the pool with steady, practiced strokes, not rushing, not showing off. Swimming was how he cleared his head. No assistants, no meetings, no reminders of the empire. He ran quietly and efficiently. Here, he was just a man enjoying what he had earned. That calm cracked when voices rose near the gate. Two men stood there in identical polo shirts, radios clipped to their belts, clipboards tucked under their arms. They carried themselves like authority, the kind that expects obedience without explanation. One of them cleared his throat loudly, the sound meant to command attention. They asked him if he lived there, asked for proof, asked why he hadn't signed in. The questions came fast, overlapping, rehearsed, paused, water dripping from his arms, and studied their faces. He'd seen this before, just dressed differently each time. He didn't argue. He didn't snap back. He asked them who they were with. They said the HOA. Said there had been complaints. Said they were responding to a call. Their tone sharpened when he didn't rush to comply. One of them gestured toward the exit, telling him he'd need to leave until things were cleared up. It wasn't a request, it was a test. He smiled slightly, not out of humor, but recognition. He asked for their credentials. Real ones. Men exchanged a quick look before flashing laminated cards that looked convincing at a glance. He leaned in just enough to notice the details that didn't add up. Expired formatting. No registration numbers. No authority beyond confidence. The men grew defensive. Voices rose. Words like policy and protocol were thrown around carelessly. They expected discomfort. Expected him to fold. Instead, he reached for his phone with the calm of someone who knew time was on his side. As they spoke, he scrolled. Property records, HOA bylaws, names, roles, dates. Listened while verifying every word they said against facts they didn't realize he controlled. Finally looked up, the balance of the moment had shifted. He made one call. Short, precise. He didn't explain much, didn't need to. And as he ended the call, he met their eyes again, still calm, still steady. The water behind him rippled softly. The pool as peaceful as it had been before they arrived. They stood there unaware that everything they thought they knew about the situation was already unraveling, and that the quiet man they had tried to intimidate was about to teach them a lesson in authority they would never forget. They were still talking when the first black SUV rolled through the gate. The sound cut through their confidence like a blade. The men with the clipboards glanced over their shoulders, then back at him, unsure whether to keep pressing or pretend nothing was happening. He stayed where he was, towel over one shoulder, phone resting calmly in his hand, as if the situation had already resolved itself in his mind. The vehicle stopped near the pool. A uniformed security officer stepped out, followed closely by the property manager. Neither looked confused. Neither looked angry. Looked concerned in the specific way people do when they realize something has gone wrong on paper and now exists in real life. The property manager's eyes went first to him, then to the two men blocking the pool entrance. Before anyone could speak, the security officer asked a simple question. Who called this in? The answer came out tangled. Two men tried to explain, talking over each other, pointing at him, repeating the words complaint and protocol as if repetition could turn them into truth. The property manager didn't interrupt. She just listened, then asked for their authorization paperwork. They handed over their laminated cards again, this time with hands that weren't quite steady. She studied them for a few seconds, then looked up sharply. These aren't valid, she said. Her voice carried across the pool deck. You're not contracted here. Silence followed, the kind that exposes everything people were hoping to hide. The security officer turned to the men in the water. Sir, are you all right? He nodded. Spoke for the first time since making the call. I am. I'd like to know why two strangers were allowed to question me on my own property. That was when the apologies began. Fast, clumsy. The kind that arrive late and expect mercy as payment. Property manager explained that a third-party vendor had been hired temporarily and clearly overstepped. The men were asked to step aside. They didn't argue now. They couldn't. He confirmed his identity without drama. Owner, resident, board member. Words landed quietly, but they carried weight. The property manager's posture changed instantly. So did her tone. She apologized again, this time directly, without excuses. The security officer escorted the two men out through the same gate they had entered with so much confidence. When it was over, the pool returned to its earlier calm. The sun still shone. Water still moved gently. Nothing physical had changed, but the air felt different, clearer. He thanked the security officer and the property manager, not out of obligation, but closure. Then he slipped back into the pool and resumed his laps. Same pace, same focus. No anger carried forward, no speech made. He didn't need one. What mattered wasn't that he had outsmarted them. It was that he never needed to raise his voice to prove he belonged. The truth had done that for him. And somewhere between the gate closing behind them and the quiet rhythm of the water, a message settled into that space. Authority without legitimacy collapses fast, and assumptions have a way of exposing the people who make them.